Imagine for just a moment. Imagine that it's election day and that you have just arrived at your polling place to vote. Imagine that you are you, exactly as you are right now. The only difference is you are hard of hearing.
Welcome. Right this way now. Just go to the letters that are the last of your name.
Hi, I need a photo and signature ID, please.
Could you repeat that, please?
A photo and signature ID, please.
Here you go.
Thank you. Could you please verify your current address?
I'm sorry. Can you please look at me directly when you're speaking?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you can't hear. Can you verify your current address, please? Where you live right now?
It's okay. You don't have to shout.
No, it's okay. Please give me your current address.
2144 Oak Street.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Now, would you please sign right on the line, sign right next to your name, right on the line. Okay. Good.
When I saw this scene, it was a bit of an aha moment for me. It gave me a new perspective, a better perspective, of how an activity as simple as voting can occur for someone with a disability. It gave me a greater awareness and a deeper understanding of the importance of the poll worker's role in every election. My name is Linda Larson, and today, for just a short while, we're going to try to experience the world through the perspective of a few people with disabilities. We're going to get a feel for what it's like for them as they endeavor to do something many of us do without much effort and frequently without thinking. And that's the simple task of voting. Sometimes, just by experiencing what another person is going through, it can permanently shift our awareness and, accordingly, our efforts to be more sensitive, inclusive, and patient. And as we know, this is not a small segment of our population. It's estimated that there are over 50 million Americans with various physical, mental, and/or developmental disabilities. Accordingly, it behooves you, as a professional poll worker, to have a set of skills that will enable you to accommodate the needs of every single voter who comes in on Election Day to cast their ballot. We want everyone who's eligible to vote to be able to do so comfortably, privately, and as effortlessly as possible. Accordingly, our objective with this training is that you leave with 1, a better awareness of what the experience of voting is like for people with disabilities so that you can more effectively accommodate their needs. 2, a heightened sense of respect for every single person who comes in to vote in order to make their experience pleasant, relaxed, and enjoyable. And 3, a common sense approach with a specific set of skills you can use in every situation. And these 3 values can be summed up, recalled, and more consistently applied when you remember them as the ARCS model. A stands for awareness, R for respect, and CS for common sense. We'll be using this model repeatedly throughout this training by continually relating it to the ideas and information we present. And remember, when we can, we'll put you in the shoes of the voter so that you may experience an aha moment of your own. The list of possible disabilities is quite large, and since we cannot address all of them in this short video, we've chosen to narrow the focus of this video training by covering voters who are deaf or hard of hearing, are blind or have low vision, use a wheelchair or scooter, have neurological disabilities, have speech challenges, have hidden disabilities. But regardless of which disability you might encounter, there are 3 very important principles that will apply across the board. Here's the first principle. If you make a mistake or do the wrong thing, it's okay. I know it feels awkward and uncomfortable when you're unsure of what to do or say to someone with a disability, and certainly none of us wants to offend anyone. But the truth is, we cannot possibly know the exact right thing to do or say with every person who comes in to vote. And sometimes, with the best of intentions, we may do something that is perceived by the other person as a bit insulting or demeaning. So what do you do if this happens to you? Listen to disability advocate Dave Caulfield as he offers us a very common sense, respectful approach to this.
If you make a mistake and you've really put your foot in your mouth, it's okay to back up and say, look, I apologize. I wasn't completely prepared to deal with this situation the way it came out today, but I really do want you to feel part of this process and help educate me on what I need to do to make this good for you.
That's right. Just ask. And more frequently than not, people will appreciate your desire to learn and to make them feel comfortable. The second principle that we can apply across the board is this: assume people want to be as independent as possible. It's very natural to want to help someone when we assume they need our help. But just like you would not want someone to make assumptions about what you are or are not capable of doing, so should we afford that same consideration to someone with a disability. Don Dawkins, a disability advocate with a spinal cord injury, gave us his perspective on this issue.
I can open and close the door very easily. I've literally had to run over people's feet who have insisted on opening doors for me. I'll never understand that type of mentality, but they do. And I'll say, I'm going to run over your feet if you don't move. Oh, that's okay. And I go, but I can open the door by myself. Oh, let me open it for you. That's the stuff that confuses me, even after all these years.
And here's why this issue can cause a problem. When you try to help a voter who doesn't need or want any help, it could very well draw other people's attention to that person. That can make the person feel singled out, uncomfortable, and different. And most people told us they really don't want that. Laurel Nevins is a voter who has physical challenges due to an auto accident. Listen to what she told us about how it feels when someone tries too hard to help her with a task that she can do for herself.
That's stressful. That's stressful. It makes you feel different. I'm not different. I'm not different. I walk with a cane. I've got some weaknesses. But other than that, I'm like every other voter that comes through there.
And here's the third vitally important principle to remember. Treat every single person who walks into your polling place, whether they have a disability or not, exactly as you would like to be treated, with dignity and respect. We spoke with Tina Steele, a voter with several disabilities, who expressed it best.
I think just like I want to be treated wherever I go, with dignity and respect. I think that's any human being should be able to expect that, and especially when you're doing your civic duty and voting.
With those principles in mind, let's now take a closer look at the specific needs of our voters who are deaf or are hard of hearing. And before we go any further, please notice that I said voters who are deaf or hard of hearing. This common sense, respectful approach aligns with the very important concept that everyone, regardless of their abilities or disabilities, should be defined as a person first. A person who happens to have red hair or a Southern accent or is deaf. Let's consider the first scene you saw in this video. You may remember that when our poll worker realized that the voter was hard of hearing, she thought that if she simply shouted, the voter would be able to hear her better. We learned that this is not the case with most people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Here's Chris Wagner, Vice President of the National Association of the Deaf, as he talks about this issue and others.
Speaking louder when they're helping out, because the majority of hard of hearing people have issue with clarity. At the practice, the thought practice, we leave it down, and it's not clear to them. I think most important measures they could do have eye contact.
Chris told us also to try rephrasing your statement if you're not being understood. Keep pen and paper handy to write questions and answers if necessary. If the voter brings an interpreter with her, speak directly to the voter, not their interpreter. If you need to get a voter's attention when her back is turned toward you, gently tap her on the shoulder. And finally, treat everyone who is deaf or hard of hearing as a capable, competent, intelligent adult. And be patient. Being aware of what a person who is deaf or hard of hearing needs and using these common sense ideas will help you provide excellent service, enabling them to have a positive, productive election experience. Now I'd like to speak to you for a moment about some very important things to remember when you're assisting a voter with developmental disabilities. For example, a neurological disorder. Please be aware that just because a person appears to have difficulty with things like speaking or walking, we should never assume that they do not have the mental capacity to exercise their right to vote. We do everyone a tremendous disservice when we make that assumption. We spoke with Laurel Bradley, a voter with a neurological movement disorder called dystonia, who said it best.
Dystonia didn't affect my brain, it affected my limbs, and I wish that more people would try and, look beyond just the way I'm walking or whatever, just know that there is a brain in there and that it does work.
As you can see, dystonia is a disorder that impacts a person's speech. And if a voter has difficulty speaking, here are a few things to remember. Listen patiently and do not interrupt. Don't attempt to rush the person or complete their sentences for them. Don't pretend you understand what they're saying if you don't. Don't make assumptions about what they are thinking based on their breathing, facial expressions, or vocal inflections. And, as Laurel told us, don't assume because a person has difficulty speaking or walking that they are any less intelligent than you or anyone else. Treat them as you would any other competent adult, not as a helpless child. Now let's turn to voters who are blind or have low vision. And once again, let's try to experience the world from their perspective. Let's step into their shoes, go back into our precinct, and endeavor to vote.
Okay, we're approaching 3 steps.
Got it.
And here we are at a magic automatic sliding door. Right?
I got my ID right here.
Oh, all right. The ID, great. Ooh, another magic door.
Hey, remind me to call Mom tonight.
Oh, yeah, right. And who's going to remind me to remind you? Oh, we have construction here, a little bit to the right here. And then the left. My goodness, look at all the wood.
Careful with the construction there. Welcome. Please just go right to the sign-in table.
Ah, we have a gentleman here who seems ready to help us.
Hi, I'm here to vote.
Oh, I need his photo and signature ID, please.
No, that's okay. You can talk directly to me.
Okay. Can you verify your current address?
Sure. Only I can hear just fine.
Oh.
It's 4343 Lake Ridge Road.
Oh. Okay, well, yeah. Sign right here. No, here.
If you could give me a signature guide, that would really be great.
All right, that signature thing. Hey, Frank! Yeah? I got a blind person here. Can you get me one of those signature contraptions, for blind people? No worries, sir. We'll get it right over. We'll get the whole thing taken care of. Meanwhile, you want a chair? Let me get you a chair.
No, I don't need a chair, but thank you.
Well, I'll get you a chair anyway. It's easier to sign when you're sitting down.
Can you imagine what it would be like if that's what you experienced in your life every single day? How would this make you feel? What would you want instead? How would you want people to treat you? Common sense tells us that you wouldn't want to be shouted at. You wouldn't want to be treated like there was something wrong with you. And you wouldn't want to think that everyone was staring at you. So as a poll worker, what do you do? What do you need to know in order to best serve the needs of your voters who are blind or have low vision? We spoke with Barbara Grill, a voter with retinitis pigmentosa, resulting in low vision, who gave us some excellent ideas, starting with one that is helpful with all your voters, regardless of whether or not they have a disability.
Just ask, how may I assist you? Or what can I do to help you? You don't have to be formal in the language, just as long as you get the point across. How may I assist you? And wait for the person to respond to that, because some people are going to say, they're very independent, blind people included, totally blind people will say, I don't need any help, believe it or not, and they don't.
What Barbara is telling us is that we don't have to assume anything. We don't have to guess who needs what kind of assistance and run the risk of offending someone. We can simply ask, is there anything I can help with? And then accept the answer that we're given. She also told us that every person who is blind or has low vision is very different and may have different needs. Some may want to sit down to sign the register. Some may want to stand. Some perhaps need the signature guide. Others may just need to be shown where the signature line starts. She said that if a voter who is blind is accompanied by someone, you should always speak directly to the voter, not their companion. She also made a very good point. If you assist a voter who is blind into the voting booth, you should remember to make certain that you're there to help them back out, to return to the person who brought them there, who may be waiting outside. And of course, that's true for anyone that you assist into the voting booth. You want to make certain that you're able to help them back out. Finally, Barbara gave us some great advice about service dogs.
I think the mistake that people make are really basically being a little too friendly with the guide dog, because everybody likes dogs. And you got to remember that that dog is a working animal. It's a service animal, and it's trained to do a job. And when that harness is off, you can treat that dog like a puppy or like any other dog. But when that harness is on, that dog is a working animal.
Now, let's consider the task of serving voters with hidden disabilities. This one can be particularly challenging since we cannot always immediately identify who needs help and who doesn't. So let's heighten our awareness about this issue. There are many, many disabilities that people could have that will not be obvious to you. Perhaps someone is in severe pain and cannot stand for any length of time. Perhaps a person has physical or mental health issues, chronic fatigue syndrome, environmental or chemical sensitivities, an anxiety disorder, a hearing loss, or any number of other challenges that you simply cannot readily identify. Listen to DJ Cavalli as he shares what his experience is like as a person with hidden pain.
When we're younger, we think we're indestructible. I was 22. When I was burned and injured, I discovered what amazing creation the human body is. The damages to the body are so severe, I have 1/3 leg muscles, that for me to stand or even sit for any period of time, I'm in chronic pain. Hopefully I smile more than frown. So most folks, hopefully, aren't aware that I'm in tremendous pain.
And you, as the poll worker, have two challenges here. One is that the person with a hidden disability who asks you for help may not look like he actually needs help. So you may have some skepticism or hesitancy about complying with his request. The second challenge is that many people with disabilities, hidden or otherwise, are simply not comfortable calling attention to themselves by speaking up, standing out, and asking for help. So what can you do to assist people in these situations? One way that requires a high level of common sense and respect is to refrain from judging. If someone says they need assistance, help them in any way that you can, whether they appear to need it or not. The second thing you can do is something we've heard from every single person we interviewed, and it's what you've already heard in this video from Barbara Grill. Simply make it a habit to say to everyone who walks into your polling place, "If there's anything you need assistance with, just let me know. I'm here to help." When you approach everyone with that same greeting, no one feels singled out or critically judged, and it makes it much easier for people to accept your offer of help if they need it. The phrase itself denotes that you are aware that there may be people who need help that you cannot identify, and it demonstrates the utmost respect for every voter. And now, let's take one final short journey. Once again, I invite you to experience Election Day from another perspective. Imagine that, just as before, you're headed into your polling place to vote. Only this time,
Oh, whoa, wait a minute, let me give you a hand there. Let me help you. Oh, there we go.
Hey, I can handle this.
Please, it's no problem. I'm glad to help.
Oh, sir, it is no problem. Please.
Oh, I bet it's tough navigating around in this thing, isn't it?
No, sir. Actually, it's not.
Yeah, I'll bet it is. Excuse me, sir.
I'm
We're
sorry.
coming through
Excuse
here.
us.
Coming through
sir, I'm
here.
perfectly
Please step
capable.
aside. Got a handicapped man in a wheelchair here.
Oh, my
Please
goodness.
step aside, okay? Oh my, I didn't know we had construction. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute here. There, I think we can squeeze right through there.
Okay,
all right.
careful.
All right, there we go. No
Easy.
problem. Excuse me.
I'm
Step
sorry.
aside. All right. I think this is yours right here.
Oh, watch out.
Oh, okay. Bobby, this guy needs special attention. I want you to take real good care of him, okay? All right? You hang in there, pal.
Oh, how mortifying.
can you get a sense of how this must feel to someone who uses a wheelchair? If that were me, I believe I would feel embarrassed, insulted, and somewhat demeaned. I would not feel like I was being treated with dignity and respect, but rather like a helpless child. And no one wants to be made to feel like that. Don Dawkins gave us some great distinctions about why this approach doesn't work.
I take pride in the fact that I run my own life and I take care of myself. For instance, I do not like people to push my wheelchair. I push my wheelchair. If I want somebody to push it, I'll request that assistance. It's inappropriate to touch someone's wheelchair unless you're asked to, or you ask the person if they require any assistance.
So let's reinforce our awareness now with a few ideas that will help you best serve the needs of voters who use a wheelchair or scooter. Remember that a wheelchair or scooter is a part of an individual's personal space. Don't lean on it, push it, or touch it without explicit permission. When given permission to push a wheelchair, start out slowly. Do not pat a person who uses a wheelchair on the head or the shoulder. Don't make assumptions about a person's intelligence or capabilities simply because they use a wheelchair. Make certain that your sign-in table has plenty of knee clearance for wheelchairs and scooters. And again, treat the person exactly as you would any other competent adult, not as a helpless child.
If there's anything I can do to help you out, just let me know, all right? Just go right through there and take a right.
Now that you have a greater awareness and understanding of what your voters with disabilities may need, it will make your day a lot less stressful if you check the following things before you open the doors in the morning. Familiarize yourself with all your accessible equipment. Have everything you might need handy and ready to go. Move tables, plants, and other possible obstructions out of the way. Place extra folding chairs in a location where they can be easily accessed. Post signs with information and offers of assistance in highly visible areas. And finally, you can demonstrate the highest level of respect by removing the following words from your vocabulary. Please do not use words or phrases like invalid, retarded, handicapped, stricken, dumb or mute, confined to a wheelchair, or crippled, ever. We trust that you have gained a deeper understanding today of what the voting experience might be like for other people. people just like you who happen to have a disability. People who want to enjoy the same rights and responsibilities that you do. Caring, concerned, involved citizens who want a voice in the election process. We encourage you to keep your awareness high as you endeavor to practice the ideas that we've given you here today. Use your good common sense and give every voter the respect that they deserve. You play a vitally important role in everyone's ability to make their voices heard. As a professional poll worker, you can literally help America vote by lending your sensitivity, knowledge, and assistance to every single person who enters your polling place on Election Day. So on behalf of everyone who exercises their precious right to vote, thank you for the incredibly important part that you play in that process. I'll leave you now with the words of disability advocate Dave Caulfield.
You know, at one independent living center, I saw this sign on the wall. I really liked it. It was a takeoff from Star Trek. To boldly go where everybody else goes with ease. And I think that's really what people with disabilities are wanting, you know, to be able to be part of the society, the mainstream of society, and to be as accepted as everyone else and not to have a big fuss. And that's only going to happen when people accept the fact that disability is truly a natural part of life.